All right, gotta say, this deep dive request has me kind of intrigued. Wikipedia on a political strategist, Morgan McSweeney. Someone out there means business.
Oh, absolutely. This isn't just someone casually curious. This is, I need the intel, like yesterday. And you're right, McSweeney. He's not just another face in the crowd.
Okay, so for those of us who don't have Westminster on speed dial, break it down for us. Who is this guy?
Well, right now he's chief of staff to the prime minister. But his path there, it's not your usual political ladder climb. This isn't some, Oxford grad working the back channels since
I
uni.
did see he was born in Ireland, mentioned in the Wikipedia article. Did they, like, import him to shake things up in British politics?
Well, that Irish connection is interesting, especially with a family ties to Fine Gael, more center right.
Yeah.
Right. Yet here he is, key player in the Labour Party. But even within Labour, his story, it's different.
Because I gotta say, building houses, couple tries at university, doesn't usually scream top spot in British politics. Feels like he took the scenic route to becoming, well, one of the most powerful unelected figures in the country.
You nailed it. This isn't someone who climbed the ranks drafting policy briefs. You look at his early work, organizing, taking on the BNP directly, that suggests a different kind of education. An education in mobilizing people, understanding those real on-the-ground concerns.
So practical, hands-on, which makes you wonder, how does someone like that end up involved with, well, a think tank?
Labor.
Together. Right. But hold on, before we get ahead of ourselves, we got to talk about this Lambeth Council election back in 2006.
Yeah, this is pivotal. He runs the campaign, wins it for Labor, and suddenly, boom, he's on the map. Formidable organizer, that's what they called him. Even the Guardian, they took notice.
And this wasn't just a one-off, right? This wasn't like, oh, look, a lucky win.
No, this becomes a pattern.
Yeah.
Look at Barking and Dagenham facing that BNP again. McSweeney, he's instrumental there too. And it's not just about winning for Labor, it's about winning against. He seems to almost thrive in these high stakes, almost oppositional situations.
Which makes this Labor Together thing even more, well, interesting. I mean, 2017, Corbyn's leading the party, and here comes McSweeney, the guy who loves a good political brawl, and he's, what, heading a think tank? It's like bringing a chainsaw to a tea party, isn't it?
Right. Definitely raised some eyebrows. But this is where I think you see his strategic mind really at work. Because on the surface, yeah, it's a think tank, policy, ideas, but behind the scenes, McSweeney's playing a much bigger game. It's not just influencing policy, it's reshaping labor itself.
And not afraid to ruffle a few feathers along the way, right? I mean, those campaign finance issues, the Electoral Commission, not exactly playing by the rule book.
True. Those fines against labor, together under his watch, yeah, unreported donations, all that. But it's like he had this vision, this long game strategy, and he was willing to maybe test the boundaries a little to get there.
So it's like he's playing 3D chess, right? While everyone else is still trying to figure out checkers. And then 2020 rolls around, Labor leadership election. It's almost too perfect.
Talk about an entrance. Starmer wins the leadership. And who's standing right there? McSweeney,
Yeah.
the campaign architect, the strategist who, orchestrated that entire power shift.
And from that moment on, he's Starmer's, I don't know, right hand. Even when the actual titles change, chief of staff, director of campaigns, it's all about influence, isn't it?
Exactly. And that's what's so fascinating at McSweeney. It's not about titles, positions. It's about setting the agenda, being the power behind the throne. Remember that quote from the Times? Nobody without elected office wields as much power. That's huge.
It's like he understands that true power isn't about being in the spotlight. It's the puppet master thing, right? You're controlling the strings, but nobody sees you.
And that begs the question, what drives someone like that? Is it purely about power? Or is there something more there? Because you look at his career, his actions, it's all very, very targeted. Like he sees a goal and then boom, goes after it relentlessly.
But then what happens when you reach that goal? Because now he's chief of staff, he's in Downing Street, Labor's in power. So is it like mission accomplished?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
Summit of the mountain or just base camp for an even bigger climb. Because remember, McSweeney, he thrives in those oppositional scenarios. He's a strategist at heart, finding weaknesses, exploiting them. That's his sweet spot.
So you're saying even though he's on the inside now, he still needs like an opponent, a challenge, just to keep those strategic muscles flexed.
It's definitely something to consider. Because look at his work with Labor Together. It wasn't just about winning elections. It was about transforming the party itself. Remember those three aims he outlined? The immediate CPR, essentially sidelining the Corbyn wing. Then, establish credibility as opposition, go after the Tories relentlessly. And finally, win power, but do it by beating them at their own game. Crime, defense, the economy, all of it.
So a grand vision, not just for labor, but for the whole, like, the kind of country he wants Britain to be. And if you got to play a little rough to get there, so be it.
Exactly. And let's not forget how he navigated the media landscape. He understood the power of perception, controlling the narrative. Look at how he dealt with the Canary, that left-leaning news site. He saw them as a potential threat, a way for Corbyn's faction to bypass the traditional media. So what does he do? Actively undermines them while boosting The Guardian.
Talk about controlling the message. This guy's playing chess while everyone else is stuck on, like, tic-tac-toe. But what does that mean for the future? He's achieved all these goals, reshaped the Labour Party, gotten them into power. So what's next for someone like Morgan McSweeney? So we've got McSweeney, the ultimate strategist, sitting pretty with Labour in power. Does he just, like, kick back and enjoy the ride now?
That's where things get even more interesting, because achieving a goal, especially in politics, it's not really game over. It's more like the stakes have just gone up.
Because staying in power, that's a whole different game, right?
It-
Compared to actually getting there.
You got it. And McSweeney, with his whole knack for spotting weaknesses, he gets that. The big question now is, where does he see the next challenge? Who or what is he getting Labor ready to take on?
So he almost needs that opposition, you're saying. Like, it's in his DNA, these strategic battles.
It's an interesting thought, right? We see it throughout his career. BNP, the Tories, even inside his own party, he comes alive when there's someone, something, to outmaneuver.
So if we want to figure out McSweeney's next move, we got to figure out who he sees as the opponent now. But how do you do that? This guy's playing, like, five-dimensional chess, thinking 10 steps ahead of everyone else.
That's when you gotta become a detective almost. Look at the policies, the alliances, what's being pushed in the media, because those are the tools someone like McSweeney uses, right?
So it's not just what's happening, it's the why behind it, the strategy.
Exactly. Like, take Labor's economic policy now. Big investment in green tech, but also really hammering on fiscal responsibility.
Yeah.
Is it just about climate and the budget deficit?
Yeah.
Or is there a deeper game being played?
You're thinking maybe this is McSweeney setting up for a clash with, I don't know, like a resurgent Green Party putting environment over economy. Or maybe he's positioning Labor as the sensible ones compared to the Tories if they go all out for quick wins.
Those are good points to consider, right? And that's the thing about McSweeney. He forces everyone, not just the politicians, but all of us watching, to think more strategically, to look beyond the surface and ask, okay, what's the end game here? Who's going to come out on top?
So for our listener who wanted the 411 on Morgan McSweeney, what have we learned?
We've learned this. The guy is a master strategist working behind the scenes. He understands that real power isn't just playing the game, it's about setting the rules. And while we can't predict every move, we can learn to think a bit more like him. Look for those patterns, those strategies that really drive things in politics.
He's a good reminder that in politics, maybe in life, it's not always the loudest voice that matters. Sometimes it's the quiet ones pulling the strings who have the biggest impact. Keep an eye on this McSweeney because his story, it's far from over.
And on that note, we'll leave you all to ponder the mysteries of power and influence. Until next time, happy deep diving, everyone.